Some days I swear I want to take people's dating history and shake it like an etch-a-sketch. Just clear the screen, wipe out all the garbage advice from their cousin in 94 and the Facebook memes and the bitter ex who's still renting space in their head. Because here's the problem. Most people are dating through a blurry lens. Everything they see gets distorted by old heartbreaks and bad assumptions in a steady drip of internet nonsense. And then they wonder why nothing feels right. Why every person they meet looks like a rerun of the last disaster. I'd love to sit down one-on-one with every single person stuck in that cycle. But until I get 1 million hours in a day and $1 million in the bank, that's just not happening. So instead, you're here with me now. And today, we're going to talk about how to spot when your dating lens is all foggy and how it's holding you back and how to finally clean it off so you can actually see the good people standing right in front of you. That sounds at all interesting. If I'm talking to you, I hope you'll stick around because that's what's on the agenda. Here's how the blurry lens kind of sneaks in. You're on a date, and he says, I love to travel. And instead of hearing Rome, Paris, Napa, your brain hears, oh, great, another guy who wants me climbing ruins in orthopedic sandals while he photographs me from below like a Sherpa. Suddenly, you're not on a date. You're starring in a low-budget National Geographic special. Or she mentions that she's close with her kids, and your imagination immediately casts you as the live-in babysitter. You can practically hear the minivan pulling into your driveway and the grandkids raiding your pantry, your good towels covered in mysterious glitter. That's what a blurry lens does. It doesn't show you what's happening. It shows you the director's cut in your head. It edits the moment before it even finishes playing, and you end up reacting to the trailer instead of the actual scene. Being on the receiving end of somebody else's blurry lens is like showing up for a brunch and the host hands you a menu and a lie detector. You didn't even know there was an exam. You just wanted an omelet and maybe a second date. You explain that you were late, maybe, because your grandson's soccer game went into overtime. Instead of a nod and a, oh, okay, you get that tight smile that says, sure, grandsons. You mention you're still on good terms with your ex because, yeah, you're an adult who understands co-parenting. And suddenly you're cross-examined like you're still in love. No, you're just not auditioning for Real Housewives of Bitterness. It feels small, like you have to shrink to fit inside somebody else's suspicion. And it feels exhausting because you're constantly proving you're not the villain in their mental rerun. Here's the truth. So here's my nightly routine, pretty much. Pajamas, couch groove perfectly molded to my body, and scrolling like I'm searching for the meaning of life. Spoiler, it's not in there. But do I keep looking? Of course. The difference now is I'm doing it in a mask that looks like I auditioned for a B-movie villain. B as in badass skin, obviously. It's my red light therapy mask, and honestly, it's the only part of my night I can defend. This thing has 272 LEDs. Most masks have half that. It's putting out the same energy that dermatologists use in their offices, red light and near infrared, the two wavelengths that doctors actually recommend for anti-aging. And here's the deal. Red light smooths fine lines and it boosts collagen and improves textures. And near infrared goes even deeper where collagen actually lives. Your face cream is never going to make it that far. And because it's wireless, I can scroll, grab snacks, change positions 17 times to accommodate two small animals, whatever. No cord anchoring me like a toaster. Do I look ridiculous? Absolutely. But my skin is probably looking better than it has in years, so I'll gladly look weird in private if it means looking good in public. And in case you've been thinking that your skin could use a little pick-me-up, you should know that I've partnered with Inia and they've given me a discount code. It's down in my description box right next to the link to their website. I'm telling you, I was looking for one of these for the longest time, but they were too expensive. This one comes along with so much more power, but a third of the price. Can't beat it. Check it out. It's in my description below. Good people won't stick around for that. They won't argue for the right to be seen clearly. They'll quietly back away and decide that reorganizing the garage with the Weather Channel is a better use of their Sunday. And the tragedy is you lose out on somebody decent, not because of who they are, but because of what your lens projected onto them. The blur doesn't just come from your past. It also comes from what I call the internet fog machine. I just made that up. You scroll past a meme that says, never date a man with a cat. It means he can't commit. Poor Mr. Whiskers just ended his owner's dating life without lifting a paw. And then your divorced buddy chimes in with, they're all liars. Assume the worst and you'll be right. That's not date coaching. That's trauma karaoke. The fog machine convinces you that you're being savvy when you're really just stacking filters on top of filters until you can't see a thing. It's like walking around with a welding mask on and bumping into furniture, wondering why you can't make eye contact. And here's the worst part. The more you scroll, the thicker the fog gets. You start believing the memes are reality. Suddenly, one bad take on Facebook has more authority than the person sitting right in front of you. Red flags are real. If someone asks for money early on, that is a red flag. If they trash every ex and call them all crazy, that's not a flag. That's a marching band of red flags parading down Main Street. But a whole lot of what gets labeled a red flag is just old baggage rattling around in your head. He's close with his sister. That's not a hidden agenda. That's called family. She prefers to meet in the daytime at first. That's not stringing you along. That's called safety. So here's a simple test. A red flag endangers your well-being. Baggage endangers your ego. One deserves action. The other deserves a glass of water and a grown-up conversation. And if you're not sure which is which, imagine telling a friend. If you'd be embarrassed to say it out loud, he owns 2 cats, so obviously he's unfit for commitment. Congratulations. That's not a red flag. That's you carrying a suitcase with a busted wheel. Here's where the blurry lens gets sneaky. It doesn't just distort what you see, it can actually create the outcome that you were afraid of in the first place. You walk in convinced this person is going to disappoint me. So you show up guarded and distracted, kind of half present. And they feel that distance, so they back up. And boom, disappointment. When you assume rejection, you act colder. When you assume dishonesty, you interrogate. When you assume that they're going to ghost you, you are the one who's going to hold back warmth and almost guarantee that they will. That's why it's called a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your blurry lens becomes the director, and the other person unknowingly plays the role that you cast for them. The way out? Catch yourself. Notice when you're pre-writing the ending, and then remind yourself, I don't actually really know yet. That pause alone can save a perfectly great date from turning into another episode of, see, I was right all along. So how do you actually clean the lens? Start by naming your distortion channel. Let's say mine is the Abandonment News Network. It's wrong about the weather and the sports. When I hear it broadcasting in my head, I remind myself, thanks for your input, but we're going to be checking a second source today. Next, stick to the facts. If somebody cancels, the only true sentence in that situation is, they canceled. Not, they found somebody cuter or younger. They hate my haircut. Just that they canceled. And then you can ask questions later that reveal character instead of guessing at motives. Try something like, hey, what does a great weekend look like for you? Or who's somebody that you really respect? And finally, practice grace. Say it out loud. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt early. Good people bloom under that sunlight. Users trip over it. And either way, you get useful information. It's not about being naive. It's about giving yourself a shot at seeing someone without your fingerprints all over the glass. Picture this. You're on a date and he checks his watch. Your lens leaps to, he's bored. He can't wait to leave. Your stomach drops and your energy shifts and suddenly you're irritated. But if you pause instead and ask, busy week for you? You might get something like, oh, I'm sorry, my mom's in rehab and I promised I'd call her by 7. Now you've got a person in front of you, not a villain that's just in your head. Your body is a good detector here. If your jaw clenches, That's projection. If your shoulders drop, that's reality. The trick is catching the leap before you build a whole novel around it. One innocent gesture doesn't have to become chapter 1 of your next heartbreak memoir. First dates can fog up your lens the minute you sit down. Maybe this. Keep them short, say 70 minutes max. That's long enough to get a sense of who they are and short enough to leave, before your patience dies, if that's kind of who you are. On the flip side, show up 5 minutes early. Find one good thing to appreciate right away. The scarf or the smile, the fact that they wore an actual shirt with a collar. Appreciation sets the whole tone. And when you talk, trade stories instead of stats, because statistics sound like a job interview, and stories make people more human. What's the best trip you've ever taken? That's going to tell you a lot more than, so do you like to travel? And then close clean. If you do want a second date, then just say so. If you don't, thank them nicely, kindly, and then move on. Helps people sleep better, knowing what's coming. Here's the truth. Your lens will blur again. You're human. One bad day, one offhand comment, and suddenly everyone looks suspicious. That doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're alive. When it happens, first of all, admit it. My lens is blurry today. Naming it takes the sting out. And then downgrade your decisions. Don't cancel dates or fire off dramatic texts. Or just hold. If you did overreact, ask for a reset. Say, gosh, I'm sorry. I was reactive yesterday. It wasn't your fault. Can we start fresh? Adults love do-overs. They respect people who can own it without turning it into drama. The point isn't to keep your lens spotless forever. The point is to notice the smudges faster and clean them off before they turn into permanent graffiti. Now, let me be perfectly clear here. You're not going to nail this every time. There will be days when the old stories sneak back in, days when you assume too much, days when you side-eye somebody for a crime they never even thought about committing. So here's the bottom line. A clear lens shows you a person. A blurry lens shows you a pattern. And patterns sometimes can feel safe because they're familiar. And you're not here for reruns. If somebody shows up from season 2, let them stay there. Clean your lens. Give people the dignity of being new. That's where the love you want is waiting for you. All right, I hope you found that interesting or helpful. If you did, you might want to check out this episode here. And hey, before you go, please, if you could, my little mama there, could you give her the thumbs up she's asking for? I don't know, she's collecting them like, coupons, I think. I don't know what she's saving up for, but I don't think S&H Green Stamps has been around in a while, so I don't think it's that. And please don't subscribe. I'm not asking you to subscribe because I don't want you to. So please don't do that, but do show up next time for the next awesome video, and I'll look forward to that and hanging out with you again. Appreciate you being here today. Have a good one.